My name is Kristen R. Portillo, 34 years old. And then it was my son Carter's 11th birthday, and I'd been planning the day for months. He's been through a lot this year: a school transfer, a broken arm from soccer, and some rough patches with a couple of so called friends. So I wanted this birthday to feel different, celebrated, safe, like the world was telling him, I see you and you matter. Carter's the kind of kid people call old soul without realizing that usually means he had to grow up faster than he should have. He makes his bed without being asked, takes care of our dog better than most adults take care of their own kids. He doesn't ask for much, but when he does, it's never for something shallow. Lately, he's been into photography, watches tutorials, edits little videos on my laptop, spends 20 minutes trying to catch the right angle of sunlight on the kitchen table like it's an art project instead of a Tuesday. So yes, I got him the iPhone 16 Pro. I know some people would roll their eyes at giving an 11-year-old something like that, but this wasn't just about a phone. It was a tool, a vote of confidence, a quiet way of saying, I believe in the person you're becoming. I wrapped the box myself, used 3 different layers of wrapping paper just to mess with him, tied it with a blue ribbon because that's his favorite color. I even practiced my birthday mom face in the mirror, the one that looks calm even when you're praying the day goes smoothly. The party was small, family only, my parents, my younger sister Lexi, and unfortunately, my brother Troy, his wife Jamie, and their 13-year-old son Mason. Troy and I used to be close once, years ago, back when he still had pride in small things like keeping a job or showing up when he said he would. Over time, he turned into someone else. Arrogant, lazy, in a way that didn't even make sense. He talks a big game about being a provider, but he hasn't held a steady job in 3 years, always between opportunities, always building something, always posting motivational quotes like they count as income. The worst part is how he parents Mason, meaning he doesn't. Mason is the kind of kid who walks into a room like he's the main event. Loud, dismissive, constantly grabbing things that don't belong to him. I've caught him rummaging through drawers before. Once he pocketed my mom's AirPods. Troy blamed it on curiosity, said boys are naturally more explorative, like theft is a personality trait. Jamie, his wife, is quieter. The kind of quiet that makes you wonder if she's numb or just tired. She's not cruel, but she's passive. The type who looks uncomfortable and still says nothing because saying something would mean admitting her life is out of control. Lexi showed up early to help me set the table. She's younger than Troy, younger than me, and she sees things more clearly than she lets on. When she walked in and spotted Troy's truck in the driveway, she gave me a look like, "Do you want me to fake a stomach bug?" I shook my head. Not today. Carter was excited in that contained way he gets when he doesn't want to hope too hard. He helped me line up paper plates like it was a mission. He kept peeking at the gift table, then pretending he wasn't. When people arrived, he greeted them politely, smiled, laughed at his grandpa's jokes, even when they weren't funny. He was trying. So hard. That alone made me want to make this perfect for him. We got through the food, the cake, the singing. Carter opened a few gifts. Some books from Lexi, a baseball cap from my dad, a handmade card from my mom that actually made me tear up because it had that rare thing in it: effort. Then it was time. I reached under the table where I'd hidden the blue ribbon box. Carter's eyes widened. He tore off the first layer of wrapping paper and laughed. Second layer, third layer. He was grinning now, cheeks flushed, hands moving fast, but careful, like he wanted to savor it. When he finally got to the actual box and saw the Apple logo, he froze. He didn't scream, didn't jump. He just stared at it like it might disappear if he blinked. Then he looked at me, not for permission, for gratitude. And that's when Mason swooped in. He didn't ask, he didn't joke, he didn't even hesitate. He grabbed the box straight out of Carter's hands and said, loud as a declaration, "This is cooler than what I got last month. I'm keeping it." The room went still. Not awkward still, charged still. Carter stood there stunned, still holding scraps of wrapping paper, eyes flicking to me like he didn't know what the rules were anymore, like he was waiting to see if adults actually meant what they always said about fairness. And then Troy laughed. Not a chuckle, a full, loud laugh, like he was proud of his kid for being bold. "Let him have it," Troy said, waving a hand like this was nothing. "It's not that serious." I looked at him. He wasn't joking. He genuinely thought my son should just accept losing his birthday gift because Mason decided he wanted it. Lexi's stare burned into me. Even Jamie looked uncomfortable, lips pressed tight, But of course, she didn't say anything. My parents looked frozen, caught between correcting Troy and avoiding conflict. Avoiding conflict always wins in that house. Carter didn't cry. That's the part that hurt the most. He didn't throw a tantrum. He didn't beg. He didn't grab for it. He just nodded, like he was swallowing the disappointment whole because that's what he's learned to do around people like Troy. I put a hand on his shoulder and said quietly, "We'll talk later, okay?" He nodded again. Mason clutched the box to his chest like a prize, already half smiling at his own power. And I did the thing I've done my whole life in this family. I swallowed it. I nodded. I let the moment pass because I didn't want to ruin Carter's birthday with a screaming match. But inside, something shifted. Because Troy forgot something. For the last 2 years, I had been quietly paying his car payment every single month. He lost his job in 2021 and begged me not to tell our parents. Said it would only be for a few months. I agreed. That was 24 payments ago. And the next morning, I was going to stop. No warning, no explanation, just consequences. The next morning, I woke up before my alarm and just lay there staring at the ceiling. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Because Carter was still asleep, our dog curled into a tight ball at the foot of his bed like a silent guard. Normally, after one of these family gatherings, I'd wake up and start rationalizing. It wasn't that bad. He's a kid. Troy didn't mean it. Keep the peace. But I couldn't do it this time. Because Carter's face, when that box got ripped out of his hands, wasn't something I could unsee. It wasn't anger. It wasn't jealousy. It was confusion. The kind that teaches a kid the world doesn't protect you, even when it's supposed to. So I got up, made coffee, opened my laptop, and logged into the bank portal that Troy didn't even know I still had access to. For 2 years, I'd been sending his car note automatically. Same date every month, same amount. He'd made it sound like a temporary bridge, like he'd get back on his feet, like this was what siblings do. 24 payments later, the bridge had become his entire road. I clicked into the auto pay settings. I deleted it. No warning, no explanation, just gone. My hand didn't shake. That surprised me. I thought I'd feel guilty. I thought my stomach would twist. Instead, I felt calm, like I was finally putting a weight down that I'd been carrying so long. I forgot it wasn't part of my body. By the time Carter came downstairs, I had already moved on to the next step. Troy had another tie to me, one I'd been meaning to cut for months but kept delaying because it was easier to pretend it wasn't dangerous. His credit card. I had co-signed it 3 years ago when he swore it was just for emergencies. He'd made the whole speech about responsibility, about rebuilding, about how he wanted to be a better father. I believed him because I wanted to. Because the alternative was admitting my own brother was capable of using me like a tool. I didn't remove my name yet. I started drafting the email to the card company because I knew what was coming once the car payment bounced. He wasn't going to call to apologize for Mason. He was going to call because his life was about to collapse. Carter sat at the table eating cereal, quiet. He didn't bring up the phone. He didn't complain. He didn't even look like he expected anything to be fixed. That made me angrier than I'd been yesterday. An 11-year-old shouldn't be that practiced at disappointment. By noon, the bank alert hit Troy. I didn't hear about it directly, but I knew the moment it happened because my phone rang at 1:14 p.m. Troy's name on the screen like a dare. I let it ring. Then it rang again. Finally, he texted, "Hey, weird thing happened with the payment this month. Did it get delayed or something?" The casual tone made my jaw clench, like we hadn't stood across from each other 24 hours ago, while his son robbed mine in plain view. I didn't respond right away. I wanted to hear where he'd take it. So I answered on the third call. He started with small talk. "So yeah, the bank thing was odd. Probably a system glitch." I said nothing. He chuckled like he was talking about a weather forecast. "Anyway, can you check on that? I'm heading out in a bit." I waited a beat. Then I said, "It didn't go through because I stopped paying." Silence. Not the dramatic kind, but the kind where you can almost hear someone's brain short-circuiting. "You... what?" he finally asked, and his voice had that irritated tone he uses when someone dares to inconvenience him. "I stopped paying," I repeated calmly, "because Mason stole Carter's birthday gift, and instead of correcting him, you laughed." He exhaled like I was being dramatic. "Kristen, it's not that serious. It's a phone." "It was Carter's birthday present," I said, "and you told me to let your son keep it." Troy sighed. "You're blowing it out of proportion. You can't believe you're letting a kid squabble ruin everything we've built as siblings." That part made me laugh. One short, bitter sound. "Built what exactly?" I asked. "Me bailing you out for 2 years while you play entrepreneur and post motivational quotes?" His voice sharpened. "So you're weaponizing money now?" No, I said, I'm withdrawing help. He scoffed. Same thing. No, I replied. Weaponizing money would be me threatening you with it. I didn't threaten, I just stopped. He didn't have a comeback for that, so he did what Troy always does when he's cornered. He got angry. You think you're better than everyone because you make more money, he snapped. You always have. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just said, you taught Mason that taking is funny. Now you're learning what it feels like when someone finally stops giving. He hung up. An hour later, Jamie texted. Her message was longer, politely written, like she'd carefully chosen each word to make me feel guilty without sounding guilty herself. Kristen, I understand where you're coming from. I do. But things are tight right now. Could you please just help this month until we figure things out? I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, I'm sorry, Hamie, I can't. No explanation, no debate. She didn't reply. That weekend was quiet. Carter was more affected than he let on. I offered to buy another phone, and he told me not to worry about it. Said it wasn't a big deal. Said he'd rather save up and buy one himself someday. 11 years old, teaching himself to move on while his cousin still throws public fits if a soda has too much ice. Monday morning, I got a fraud alert from the credit card company. At first, I thought it was spam. Then I realized it was that card, the one I co-signed for Troy 3 years ago. Turns out he'd maxed it out. Not a little. Not emergency groceries. Maxed. And he'd set it to auto-pay minimums using one of his checking accounts, which had just been frozen due to overdrafts. So now the card was bouncing too. I spent the entire morning on the phone with customer service explaining I no longer had any financial ties to him. They needed documents. I had them. It took hours, but I got it done. Requested full disassociation, flagged the account, and told them if he tried to use my name for anything again, I'd escalate. The fallout came fast. Jaime called me again, but not crying this time. Furious. You're tearing our family apart, she said. Troy is humiliated. He can't even put gas in his car now. I asked her, where was this energy yesterday when Mason took Carter's gift and Troy defended it like it was nothing? That has nothing to do with this, she snapped. Yes, I said, voice steady. It has everything to do with this. Then Troy texted me, all this over a damn iPhone. I stared at it, not because it hurt, but because it confirmed what I already knew. He didn't get it. He didn't see what the problem was. I wrote back one word, no, over a damn lack of respect. He didn't reply, but I knew he would eventually, because the real pain was only just starting. 3 days passed without a word from Troy. Then I got the voicemail. He didn't call to talk. He left a message like a coward. His voice had that fake, steady tone he uses when he's trying not to sound pressed. He said he was disappointed in me, that I was weaponizing money against family, and then he said the line that made my stomach tighten. This isn't how Mom and Dad raised us. That lie. Every time he gets called out, he hides behind our parents like we grew up in some moral utopia and I'm the one breaking the code. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on Carter. His backpack sat untouched for 2 days. He didn't take a single picture all week. And this is the same kid who used to photograph ants on the sidewalk just to test lighting. Then I saw it. Mason posted a video of himself unboxing the iPhone 16. Caption: finally upgraded, late birthday flex. Carter wasn't tagged, but his classmates saw it anyway. Carter didn't tell me. I heard it from his teacher after she called to say he'd gotten into a quiet standoff with another boy. Nothing physical, but Carter had snapped. The counselor got involved. That was it for me. The next morning, I texted Jamie. Troy needs to call me, not you, not Mason, him. Because now it wasn't about my money. It was about my son's dignity. And I was done letting Troy's family steal it like it was nothing. Troy called that afternoon. No hello, no easing into it, just irritation right out of the gate. What now, he said, like I was the inconvenience in his life. I want the phone back, I said. He laughed, not a chuckle, a full dismissive laugh, like I'd just asked him to hand over a winning lottery ticket. You really think I'm going to take a phone from my kid because your kid's feelings got hurt, he said. Grow up, Kristen. It's not about feelings, I replied. It's about respect. You're overreacting, he snapped. It's a phone. Mason likes it. Carter will get over it. That sentence landed like a punch. Carter will get over it. Like pain was something you assigned to the quieter kid because it's easier, I told Troy calmly, you're confusing help with control. I helped you when you couldn't help yourself. What you're feeling now is what it's like when someone finally stops. He went quiet for a second. Then he said, You've always thought you were better than everyone. No, I said. I just think I deserve better than being used. He hung up. That night, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find Jamie standing there alone. She didn't come inside. She didn't even look at me. She just held out the box. Still sealed, still wrapped. She didn't say a word, just handed it to me and walked back to her car. I didn't chase her. I didn't thank her. I just closed the door and leaned my forehead against it for a second, letting the moment settle. Then I called Carter downstairs. I handed him the box. He didn't gasp. He didn't cheer. He didn't ask questions. He just nodded, like he was accepting something that should never have been taken in the first place. He went back to his room. An hour later, I heard it. The camera shutter sound. Soft, familiar, like a heartbeat coming back. And for the first time since that birthday party, I felt like I could breathe again. But Troy wasn't done. 2 days later, he went nuclear. It started with a Facebook post, one of those long, self-pitying rants that pretends to be philosophical while pointing fingers. No names mentioned, but it didn't need them. Some people confuse generosity with power, he wrote. They think being right is more important than being decent. The comments flooded in. A few cousins, some old friends, a couple of people from church. Damn, that's cold. Family over money. People forget where they come from. I didn't comment. I didn't have to. Because while Troy was busy posting, he tried something else. Something he didn't expect to backfire. Our parents have a fund. A quiet savings account they set up years ago for family emergencies. Nothing huge, but enough to matter. Both Troy and I had access. I'd never touched it. Troy had. Twice. Once after the foreclosure, once when Hammy had surgery. I only found out this time because the financial advisor emailed me asking to confirm a withdrawal request. I stared at the email, then picked up my phone and called my parents. They were stunned. They had no idea. Dad was furious. Mom sounded hurt, confused, betrayed in that quiet way that means the truth finally hit. I told them I wasn't asking them to cut Troy off. I just wanted them to know what he was doing behind their backs. The next day, they removed his access completely. Troy didn't find out until he tried to pull money for his car insurance and the transaction got flagged. That night, Jaime called me again. I could hear Troy yelling in the background. "This better have been worth it," he screamed. I said one thing to Jaime, "Ask your husband." Then I hung up. The calm lasted exactly 1 week. Our parents invited everyone to dinner. One of those forced gatherings where everyone pretends nothing's wrong to keep the illusion alive. I didn't want to go. Carter did. And honestly, I wanted Troy to look me in the eye. Just once. Lexi was already there when we arrived. She gave me that look, the one that said something's about to explode. Jamie and Mason were in the living room. Mason was on his old phone, probably the one he'd tossed aside once the new one disappeared from his feed. Troy came in from the kitchen like nothing had happened. He opened his arms for a hug. I stepped back. Everyone noticed. Dinner started awkward but quiet. Mom asked Carter about school. Lexi talked about some guy she'd seen. Carter answered in one-word sentences. Mason flicked a green bean at Lexi's head. Normal dysfunction. Then Dad asked Troy if he'd found a new job yet. Troy shrugged. I've been focusing on building something instead of being someone's puppet. He didn't look at me when he said it. I stayed silent. Jaime jumped in, saying she hoped we could all start acting like adults and leave petty stuff in the past. That it had been months of unnecessary tension. 2 weeks, I said quietly. It's been 2 weeks. She froze. Then Troy stood up. He slammed his fork down and said he was sick of being painted as the villain. Said everyone treated me like royalty just because I made more money. Said no one had any idea what pressure he was under. Then he turned to Dad. You think she's so perfect? He snapped. Ask her why she really pulled me off the account. Ask her what she said to the bank behind your back. Before I could respond, Carter stood up. The entire table went silent. He looked straight at Troy and said, You let your kids steal from me. Troy opened his mouth. Carter didn't stop. You laughed. Then you let him post it online and pretend it was his. You embarrassed me in front of my whole class. Troy tried to speak again. You didn't even say sorry, Carter finished. The room froze. Dad told Troy to sit down. Mom told Jamie to stop talking. Lexi whispered, Jesus Christ. Mason smiled. Then Dad stood up, walked into the den, and came back holding a folder. He said he'd made a decision earlier that week and wanted everyone to hear it together. He handed me a copy. It was a legal document. He and Mom had restructured the emergency fund. It wasn't joint anymore. Half in my name, half in Lexi's. Troy's name was gone. Dad looked at him and said, We trusted you. You abused it. Troy looked like he'd been slapped. He turned to Mom. She didn't look at him. He stormed out without a word. Jaime followed. Mason stayed a second longer, looked at Carter and said, Guess you finally got your little toy back. Then he left too. Carter sat down, picked up his fork, and kept eating. Like nothing had happened. But I knew. That wasn't nothing. That was the moment Troy lost the room. And the moment he realized the safety net was gone for good, Troy did what he always does when he feels cornered. He went online. By the time I got home that night, my phone was buzzing nonstop. Lexi sent the first screenshot with a single line underneath it. "You seeing this circus?" I opened it. Troy had posted another rant, longer this time, not vague, not philosophical. This one was personal. He'd uploaded screenshots of a car repossession notice, cropped just enough to hide the dates. He talked about betrayal, about how some people turn their backs the second you stop being useful to them. He didn't name me, but he didn't need to. Anyone who knew us knew exactly who he was talking about. Then came the kicker. He posted a screenshot of a Cash App transfer. It showed a payment from him to me, labeled paid back, all good now. The amount was wrong. The timestamp was blurred, and the caption underneath read, "Now she can stop acting like she owns me." I stared at it, not angry, not hurt, just tired, because it was such a lazy lie. Lexi zoomed in and circled the details I already noticed. "This is fake and sloppy." The comments exploded. Some people bought it. Of course they did. It's always easier to believe the loudest story. "Good for you, man. Family drama is the worst. Proud of you for standing up for yourself." Then one comment appeared that made me smile. A friend of Lexi's from law school tagged herself and wrote, "Careful, falsifying financial records publicly can count as fraud." The post disappeared within the hour. No apology, no clarification, just gone. But the damage was done. The next morning, Mom called me. She sounded confused, cautious, like she didn't know which version of reality she was supposed to be standing in. "Troy said he paid you back," she said. "Is that true?" "No," I replied. "It's fake." She went quiet. I didn't plan to say what came next, but it spilled out anyway. 2 years ago, he asked me to co-sign a personal loan, I said. I said no. He told me I'd regret it, that I was choosing money over family. She inhaled sharply. "And now," I added, "here we are." She didn't argue. She didn't defend him. That silence told me everything. A few days later, she tried again. Asked if Carter and I would come to Christmas dinner. Said she missed us. Said families should be together. I told her Carter had already decided we weren't going this year. We booked flights that afternoon. Somewhere warm, somewhere quiet, somewhere without obligation. When Christmas came, Carter and I were on a beach, our feet in the water, the sun sinking low over the horizon. He took more pictures that week than I'd seen him take in months. Real ones. Not forced, not careful. Troy didn't show up to Christmas either. That wasn't a peace offering. That was a tantrum. He was waiting for our parents to miss him enough to beg. This time they didn't. Coming home from that trip felt like stepping into a different version of our life. Not better. Clearer. Carter unpacked his camera gear before his clothes. He started editing photos before I finished sorting mail. The house felt ours again. 3 days later, Mom asked to meet. We sat in the same coffee shop she always picks, the one with the soft music and uncomfortable chairs designed to keep conversations short. She hugged me like nothing had happened. I didn't hug back. She went straight to it. Said Christmas didn't feel the same. Said things were calmer now with Troy. Said someone had to take the first step. "You're the stronger one," she said. "You could reach out." I looked at her. "What has Troy done since Christmas that tells you he wants to make things right?" She stirred her coffee. "He's been through a lot." "So has Carter," I said. She didn't respond. "You keep asking me to be the bigger person," I continued. "I've been the bigger person for years. I paid his bills. I kept his secrets. I protected him from consequences. I'm done." She sighed. "I just hate the silence between you two." "There's a difference between silence and peace," I said. "I finally have the second one." A week later, Troy messaged Carter. Just one line. "Sorry things went down like that. You deserve better." Carter showed it to me without saying anything. I didn't tell him what to do. I just said, "You're not obligated to carry his apology for him." Carter deleted the message. Then came the quiet fallout. A cousin texted me after a cookout I didn't attend. Said Troy was telling anyone who'd listen that I poisoned Carter against him. That I manipulated our parents. That I built a wall just to feel powerful. He still couldn't say the word accountability. What surprised me wasn't that he was still talking. It was how little I cared. I went through every remaining tie I had to him. Insurance policies, shared accounts, the financial advisor. One by one, I removed my name. Clean, quiet, final. Mom tried one last time, not to force a reunion, but to ask how she should handle things going forward. I told her she was free to love both her kids. But I wouldn't sit at a table with someone who let their child humiliate mine and laughed while it happened. That was my line. Months passed. No more games. Carter won a regional photo contest. He taped the certificate to the fridge next to a picture he took in Miami, warm light spilling across the ocean. We were eating breakfast when he said, "This year was kind of the worst, but also kind of not." I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "I know what you mean. We still hear about Troy sometimes, mostly secondhand. People asking if we'll ever patch things up. I always give the same answer. It's not about patching it up. It's about deciding what you let back into your life. I chose peace, and peace stayed.